Hey everybody, welcome back to our YouTube channel. Today I want to talk to you about intuitive eating and give you some tips on how to eat intuitively. First, let's talk about what eating intuitively means. As defined, intuitive eating is rejecting diet mentality, meaning to not focus on weight loss and to not focus on the need to diet, and also to not food police, meaning there are no bad foods, there are no foods that are to be restricted, and there's no one right or wrong way to eat. In other words, if you want to wake up and have ice cream, you can wake up and have ice cream. If you want to eat a lot before you go to bed, you can. There's no rules around eating. That is the basic premises of intuitive eating. And while I agree with the concept and I think that it is very liberating and a healthy way to think about food, I also feel like there are some flaws in the philosophy itself. Now, I want to basically talk about three different types of thought processes when it comes to how we eat. There's intuitive eating, right? Which means just like check in with your body and you're just gonna be okay with food. You're not gonna have any issues whatsoever. Then there are restrictive eating, which is essentially creating rules around food and creating rules around certain kinds of foods, meaning I can't eat ice cream because it's a trigger food for me, or I need to have dinner at 5 p.m. or I need to be on a meal plan because that's what gets me to my goal. These are different ways of restricting how you eat. Then there is informed eating, where you essentially take the rules that you, or guidelines I should say, that you created for yourself, and you apply them to how you eat during the day and over a period of time intuitively. And that is how I like to think about eating when I'm not trying to change my body. Now here's where I want to deconstruct the idea of intuitive eating. While I think that it is important to accept and embrace a healthy body at every size, I also feel like it's okay to want to change your body, and it's okay to step away from intuitive eating when you need to. I'm not saying that you can't change your body when you eat intuitively. I am saying, however, though, that it is not always possible and it is not always necessary or even helpful to be intuitive 100% of the time. Now here's where I think it is helpful. Once you have a basic understanding of nutrition and how foods work and your preferences as far as the foods you enjoy, I think if you've taken that buy-in period to learn about nutrition, I think it's helpful to step away from needing to control your nutrition. Meaning, oh, I need to eat a certain amount of foods because I'm going to get enough vitamins, minerals, and antioxidants if I eat foods X, Y, and Z. I'll get this much vitamin A, this much That's, in my opinion, perhaps placing too much of an emphasis or a degree of control on how you eat. Then there's the other philosophy where it's like, well, if you eat a certain amount of calories, macro tracking, if you will, protein, carbs, and fats, I'm going to get to my goal. Now, again, both of these things have merit, and I do feel like it's important to understand what's on your plate and how it works for you. However, to take that control and to make that how you live your life, perhaps a little bit restricted, perhaps a little too controlling, and perhaps it can take away from just being able to enjoy eating like a healthy, normal human being. So this is where I think intuitive eating hits the mark. Now, when you combine that with being informed, meaning you've taken the time to learn what foods are nutritious and how eating nutritiously helps you feel good, then you can make sure that you're eating nutrient-dense whole foods often and regularly. And here's how I like to do it. I make it a point to build my food, my meal plan for the day in my head, essentially. I don't let those ideas govern or rule the way I live my life. However, I do have certain guidelines that I gravitate towards. I'm going to make sure that I'm eating vegetables at least once, preferably twice a day. For me personally, it's the first meal of the day. I wake up, I have a serving of vegetables. For another person, it might be lunch. They might have a nice salad, or maybe you have some veggies with dinner, right? So 1 to 2 servings of veggies a day, at least at one meal. The other thing that I make a point of doing is having a serving of fruit, at least one serving of fruit once a day. Now, I'm not saying you can't have more than 1 to 2 servings of vegetables, just not less. Can't say that you can't have more than 1 serving of fruit, just not less. Now, here's the kicker for those of us who I feel like I'm speaking to, those of us who are fitness minded. I feel like it is important to make sure to include protein in at least 3 of your meals a day and up to 5 meals a day. Now, this doesn't mean counting how much protein's in your meal. This doesn't mean trying to find the food that has the most protein humanly possible or the best amino acid profile humanly possible. This means literally just making sure that there is something on your plate that is protein dense 3 times a day. And then finally, the next tip is to stay hydrated, because if you're dehydrated, you're going to be craving hydration, and it's better to get hydrated by drinking water as opposed to eating as much food as humanly possible to get like the hydration, like the water in your food, in the whole foods preferably. Or worse, you wind up going to hyperpalatable foods or calorically dense foods that are not really hydrating, and in essence, you could have just stayed hydrated. So, okay. Let's recap here. 1 to 2 servings of vegetables a day or more, 1 serving of fruit a day or more, 3 meals with something that is protein dense. Maybe like, use like eyeball. It should be maybe something that is 1/4 or 1/3 of your plate. Tofu, seitan, lentils, maybe even a protein shake on the side, whatever it is, something that's protein dense. And to stay hydrated. And to stay hydrated, it's as simple as filling up a water bottle halfway or all the way, whatever you feel is going to be enough for you based on your body weight and your exercise activity, right? How much you're sweating throughout the day. Now, as far as those choices are concerned, obviously we're gravitating towards whole foods here, right? As the basis and foundation of your meal plan, and I think it's very important. However, I don't want to think about foods that are sugary or savory, calorically dense, hyperpalatable. These are not foods to restrict or even foods to think about sprinkling in as little as possible. I think about foods that satisfy a craving in some sort of way and have maybe not the nutritional value that we need as foods that shouldn't be restricted. However, I do feel like those foods, and it's of no fault of our own, we can have a tendency to overeat them. So enjoy foods in moderation and be mindful of the foods that we will have a tendency and a likeliness to overeat. And just know that as fact, right? Without have some sort of opinion on whether that's a good or a bad food. This is the difference between being informed versus being restricted. So that is basically my thought process around whole foods and my thought process around foods that we also enjoy for whatever, just the way that they taste or what have you, whatever we're in the mood for. So just be mindful and also enjoy a variety of foods. And you don't have to do this on a daily basis, but this should be the trend over a period of time. And if you notice yourself moving away from that, move towards that. Okay, here are some other important tips. I think it's helpful to what is your experience level, right? Just like you're in the gym and you can sort of go in there and not follow a plan, you know how to write your plan, you know how to necessarily not have a plan and still go in and get a good workout on. Know what your experience level here is with nutrition. If you need to learn more, there's no harm in food tracking. If you need to learn more, there's no harm in finding out what foods have more protein or this and that. Once you have a pretty good foundation as far as your experience with food, and I feel like it does take some practice, then I think it's possible to experiment with intuitive eating, whether you're looking to change your body and you're looking to gain muscle, whether you're looking to lose fat, whether you're looking to change your body composition by doing a little bit of both over a longer period of time. I think it's okay to experiment with your personal skill level with intuitive eating. And also, I feel it's okay to check in with yourself once you know what your goal is and say, all right, it's been about a month of doing this thing. What do I look like? Is my body moving in the right direction? Okay, maybe visual proof isn't your thing. Maybe you need to measure some other metric. Use the scale or measure your waist, for example. Something tangible to prove to yourself that if you're looking to change your body or you're looking to maintain your body, you have some sort of tangible proof that intuitive eating is or is not working for you. It could be a mix of all of those things, the visual proof, the measuring, whatever it is. You don't necessarily have to do this on a daily basis. However, I don't think that there's necessarily harm in having someone else do it with you, or checking in with yourself if you're comfortable enough in doing so. And if you're not moving in the direction you want to be moving in, you can either change your habits a little bit while still trying to eat intuitively, or it is okay to step away from intuitive eating and to build yourself some sort of loosely strung together meal plan, or even start tracking, whatever it is. Use your skills, use what you know, and continue to learn how to best fuel yourself if your goals are to be healthy and also to be mindful of your ability to be a fit person, which personally I feel like they go hand in hand. In other words, there's longevity in eating healthy, and then there's focusing on your bone density, your muscles, and the ability to be active and healthy and fit. And for our audience and for the purpose of this conversation, I feel like it's a mix of two, and I think that is the goal here. So informed / intelligent, intuitive eating, for me, that's where I feel like it's at, and I don't think there's any harm in learning about nutrition, assessing your experience level, and making sure you're working towards your goals and checking with yourself. And if you're not, focus on reworking your habits, and that can be done both with intuitive eating and also by stepping outside of intuitive eating and using other skills that you have. The reality of it is that we don't teach ourselves how to eat, other people teach us how to eat, and all of us in one way, shape, or form, as we become adults, have some form of disordered eating, some pattern of disordered eating. Now, there is the risk when you try to learn about nutrition that pattern of disordered eating can turn into an eating disorder. It doesn't necessarily have to, however, it can. There is also the fact that we can accept that our patterns of disordered eating can be worked on over time, and we can get to a healthy place where food doesn't control us and we don't need to control food. And that is where I feel like informed intuitive eating hits the mark, hits the nail on the head, so to speak. All right, well, if you like this video, let me know. Let me know what your thoughts are in the comments below. Hit the subscribe button, share it with a friend. Let's keep this conversation going. Thanks so much for tuning in, and we'll see you soon.